Hello and welcome to Spirit Touched. We talked about safety last time, so we're going to talk about safety equipment. When you go to the circus, some of the performers use safety nets to catch them should they fall and to jump into when their act is finished. For Christians, Jesus is our safety net. 1 Samuel 1740. Look at what David used to slay the giant. His shepherd's staff, 5 smooth stones from a stream, and a slingshot. He knew God was his protection. Now let's look at Ephesians 6 and see what kind of safety equipment God gives us to do battle with. He knows we need it for those spiritual battles. Number 1 in verse 10, he tells us to be strong in him. However, for us to stand against the devil, we need armor, which is peace. Number 1 is the belt of his truth around our waist. Number 2 is his bulletproof vest of righteousness. Number 3 is our combat boots of readiness, which comes from the gospel of peace. Number 4 is that shield of faith. It's what puts out those fiery darts and arrows Satan slings at us. Number 5 is our helmet of salvation. And number 6 is the sword of the Spirit, which is the Word of God. Number 7 is praying for wisdom and guidance. Number 8 is fasting like Esther did in 1 Samuel 30. David did something before he went back to Ziklag. Number 1, he strengthened himself in God and fasted and prayed, seeking God's counsel. Number 2, he caught the enemy unaware. Number 3, when it was all over, he shared all the spoils with his men. Doing those things help keep you safe as well as win. Plus, that day, David got back double what the enemy had stolen because they left all of their equipment when they fled. There's something we really need to get a hold of. When you get right down to it, nothing you can buy protects you when that's all you are trusting in. It's the God of our salvation that keeps us safe. That's why we are to put our trust in him alone and not man, money, or weapons. Walls can be breached, dug under, and tunneled. That they can be climbed over with ropes and ladders. Wire fences can be cut. Security systems can be breached or hacked into unless you secure them with firewalls. Locks can be broken. According to Exodus 3:5, take off your shoes while standing on that holy ground. Taking off your shoes while standing on that holy ground is what kept Moses from getting burned by that flaming bush. In Daniel 3, his 3 friends told the king their God would save them if they were thrown into that super hot furnace, and their God did just that. Then in chapter 6, he did the same thing when the king threw Daniel into the lion's den. How? He had an angel shut the mouths of the lions, but it was Daniel's innocence before God that was his true safety net. I hope you are beginning to see that no matter how hard we try to protect ourselves or keep our loved ones safe, the only thing that really works is trusting in God to do that. No matter how much money we pay for safety equipment, it's just wasting that hard earned money. Only trust in God can save us. It's not even the Word of God, but it's the God of that Word with the power to save. Am I saying His Word is not powerful? No, it's the God who gave us that Word that makes the Word powerful. On October 7th, 2023, many Israelis hid inside their safe rooms, yet those Hamas terrorists breached those safe rooms and either killed them or kidnapped them anyway. So the God of the Word, in all his power, has stepped in to do battle for his chosen ones with his mighty right hand. It's trusting in him and his word that gives us strength and courage to stay in the fight. It's always wise to keep our guard up and our armor on 24/7. Also, remember that each of us has at least one guardian angel assigned to us as our bodyguard. In Hosea 2:6, God kept Hosea's wife Gomer safe with a hedge of thorns. Then verse 20 says, he would betroth her in faithfulness. Then in chapter 11, 8 through 11, there's something very interesting. God has compassion on his chosen ones. Why? Because he is God, not man. When we follow him, he roars like a lion, causing us to tremble. That's when he settles our fears. In chapter 12, verse 5, those who had left God were told to return. Number one, to return to him. Number two, maintain their love and just in him. Number three, and to wait for him. Chapter 13, verse 14, part A and B says, God will ransom and redeem us from death. He did that with his son Jesus on that cross at Calvary. Our sin is our downfall. That's why we must confess them. When we do, he heals our backsliding ways. Chapter 14:4. Then in verse 5, he restores us with his due, which is his presence. In verse 6, he anoints us with his olive oil. He answers us when we call. He cares for us via his Jireh provision. Look at verse 9. Walking in his righteousness says, in his righteous ways is what keeps us from stumbling and staggering. It's not natural. It's not natural things that protect. It's the supernatural things of our mighty God. Oh, yes, there's one more way God protects us. It's by everything in Psalm 91 when we choose to live under that psalm. I've been doing that since the awful virus came. Everything in that psalm has been my vaccine. Yes, it works. Just read it every time you feel the need for a booster shot. Stay safe and know that Jesus is our Messiah on patrol. You may send your prayer request to heanswerstwo@gmail.com.